Welcome to What's Next with Money. Coming up on today's program, pro tips for building wealth through home ownership. These home housing tips encompass the big picture, the long view, being aware of macro and local micro housing trends in your area. And it can save you time, expense, heartache, and costly real estate do-overs. You know, I've heard folks say, if I had a house, I'd be wealthy. And those who experienced the Great Recession, unfortunately, may have had this experience. All my wealth went into my home, and then I lost it. And today you might hear, it takes a home to buy a home. You're watching What's Next with Money, a program with smart insights to guide your financial decisions. So how will you or do you think and act on your home as a wealth building tool? It's really one of the greatest for most Americans. And what are you experiencing in this area? Let us know in the comments section. So here's pro tip 1 of 5 for building wealth through home ownership. Number 1, what is the current and potential market? You know, with housing, it's always something. There's never a perfect time, and it could be the right time or the wrong time. Too much supply, too little, a declining market, interest rates, a frothy market, too many eager buyers, some with just cash, and that can distort a market. You might inquire if there's a nearby development or an adjacent area where a cash buying, that pressure or that distortion in the market is a lesser factor. And then there's the market in general, employment prospects, economic development. Is the area in decline or ascension? Is the area at risk for layoffs or dependent on just a few employers or industries? Are people moving into the area? Is there net migration, demographics, young earners, retirees, middle age, even temporary workers? Now here's a big one. In some areas, it's NIMBY, not in my backyard. But now that's giving way to YIMBY, yes, in my backyard. And this is where zoning restrictions are loosening to boost affordable and more dense housing. We always have the conundrum, if I move to an area, should I rent versus own? And there's an easy way to check on this with a local or regional apartment association. They do area surveys, and they can assist you in understanding the temperature of that market. And don't forget this concept of reversion to the mean. This is the financial theory that asset prices and historical returns eventually revert to their long-term mean or average level. And something can always trigger this, like too high rents or interest rates. And just think, conditions could change or be about to change. For some folks, can you delay and rent for a while you build up your down payment money? And then we got the phenomena of a lot of homeowners are sitting on their low interest mortgage. They might want to move, but they're in a higher interest rate environment. And this adds to the gridlock in the market, kind of like golden handcuffs. A new phenomenon, relatively new, housing pressure, is 1 in 5 single-family homes have been bought by corporate home buying companies. They've been converting these owned and occupied single-family homes to nationally managed rental properties. This lowers the ability to move in because of the available home inventory is now less. These for sale properties that could have been purchased are being swallowed up. Now, a few folks in Congress are concerned about this, and they have a proposal called the Stop Wall Street Landlords Act. Not sure if that's going to get passed. More action is happening on the local level. A few local affordable housing groups are trying to outbuy these Wall Street single-family rental acquisition companies. And let me add that many renters of single-family homes have given up on buying a starter home for ownership. They're resigned to renting and not moving for a while. So much so, this may sound strange, that a few of them are doing do-it-yourself home improvements in their rental house. Now, I rented out my second owned house for 20 years. My first renter was handy, and he did or suggested some great minor improvements. Now, does this really make financial sense? You know, the nesting instinct, the psychic income for tenant improvements, you know, you really shouldn't discount that. And many folks can find improvements that they could pay for and maybe take them with them to their new place, hopefully a home. You can even use temporary wallpaper. Now, please get permission from your landlord or management company in writing first, but they might also give you a break on rent. And I certainly did for some of my tenants. And when I first moved to Colorado, people were moving out of the state like crazy. They were in a deep housing recession. And a friend of mine, I told him I bought a house. I had rented here for a year with no owned house. I bought my first, and he just looked at me and said, "You'll never sell it." That, folks, you hear that kind of talk in some cases, that's like the market low. Now we're talking about building wealth through home ownership. Here's pro tip number 2. What is the built environment? This is the macro area. Now, it's the land, the weather. What happens throughout the year? Is this area, have they been subject to 100-year floods? Are there earthquakes, tornadoes, hail issues, hurricanes, heat, drought, wildfire? Are they adjacent to an urban wildland interface? And firestorms happening kind of in more of the wildland area can actually sweep into a city by high winds. And there's the quality and stability of soil, the history of contaminants. We have to think about energy costs, the availability of water, and accessible, dependable supply lines like reservoirs, waterways, wells, and aquifers. Are they in decline or possibly interruptible? A big one is the home insurable in the built macro area. This is for long-term or short-term. Remember, no insurance, no mortgage financing. And lenders require certain types of insurance based on the local or area hazards. Insurance companies now use these sophisticated geostatistical models of risk, and they're pricing that accordingly. And some states like Florida around the coast have resorted to state risk pools for insurance just to keep the insurance happening. We also have the physical environment of the area, the propensity for disasters, the impact of climate change, and even the plans of governments for zoning changes. Area impacts like highway expansion, rail, air traffic, sea level changes, river levels, dams, flash flooding, and of course, water availability for fire protection and mitigation. And we just saw through several Florida hurricanes this idea of erosion at the beach, condo buildings collapsing possibly from weather or lack of maintenance. And folks, we're talking big money and new laws to enforce safety, assessments, rebuilding, upgrading, even condemning properties, forcing owners to relocate. And we have a couple really good videos on disaster preparation and recovery. We'll have links to those in the comment section and the description. Here's pro tip number 3 of 5 of building wealth through home ownership. What is the location? This is now down to the micro level, the neighborhood, and even the house. You know, it's not good to buy the most expensive house on the street. You've got to look at the neighborhood and the issues of location that impact its convenience for jobs, schools, safety, nearby family, transportation, that's highways, bridges, ferries, mass transit, unemployment, daycare, your faith community, and recreation, plus available commercial and governmental services. Now you add to all this with home ownership, the emotion. Does the space and the layout speak for you, for utility, growth? Does it inspire you? How do you imagine the space? What about the aesthetics of it? Does the layout allow for possible aging in place for you or a future buyer? You got to think about curb appeal, yes, but we've got to look beyond that. In a home we bought in the Colorado area, we had to see through and afford problems and sequence fixes. We couldn't do them all at once. The home we had bird nests in the garage, an attic space, warped siding, weird paint that we found out violated the color standards of the HOA. The backyard had a bad slope for drainage. Worst of all, we had a wood roof in a fire-prone area. And we fought to change, and we found an alternative. We installed the first all-metal interlocking stone-coated steel roof in our neighborhood. It mitigated our risk, lowered our insurance costs, eliminated maintenance, and the house was transformed. That roof can even take a 100-mile-per-hour hail hit. If you're getting value from this video, be sure to hit that subscribe and smash that like button. It helps move our content to more folks. Now, pro tip number 4 of building wealth through homeownership. Should you and can you afford it? We're talking down payment, and there are great, in some areas, some down payment assistance programs. Loan help through FHA and VA. Housing counseling and credit counseling are fantastic. We're going to have links to those in the comment section and the description. Then there's the loan itself, the term, the interest rates. Are they fixed or variable? The price of the home, insurance, taxes, utilities, HOA fees, possible future assessments, repairs, and your preliminary plan for phased improvements or repair. Many can be based on the home inspection. That can be like your guidebook. Then there's your ability to get the loan, your credit score, credit record, the need to sell an existing home and possibly move or relocate to a new area. Are you planning to add to monthly payments and periodically maybe pay down that mortgage early? To help you do this, and the thing that motivated us through actually 3 different payoffs is to request an amortization statement from your lender. Now later you can consider refinancing. And always when refinancing, we recommend getting a shorter term loan each time, from a 30-year to a 20-year or 15 to a 12. Don't go backwards. Pro tip number 5, building wealth through homeownership. And we've got some bonus questions coming up. What are the wealth building possibilities? Now, other than to live in it, consume it, use it, love the house, you're paying for an experience while growing your family and a household, plus growing your wealth. A mortgage managed right is one of the greatest forms of forced savings, as you pay it off or just build equity. And then, of course, there are tax benefits. You want to keep records of improvements, the type, date, and cost and vendor, and keep those receipts, plus the usual mortgage interest or tax deductions. Now, with owning rentals, there are many more tax benefits. And down the road, you might be able to convert or repurpose a home that you've lived in as a rental, or that rental as a bridge to acquire or trade up to more rentals. Possibly using a 1031 exchange to save on or defer taxes. Now, I managed my first rental myself. But then when our business started, I hired and needed a professional manager. Plus, those properties were 60 miles away. Now, we can grow net worth, borrow against rental properties, and even your home if that's your goal. And you might say, well, wait a minute. I live in an area like New York City, and remember the presidential candidate? The rent is too damn high. That's a reality. But you can look for other ways to build wealth outside of home ownership. And we cover many of those on this channel. But we do have this new phenomenon of YIMBYism, yes, in my backyard. It is opening up new wealth and ownership possibilities. And consider these: short-term Airbnb, boarders, co-living environments, almost dormitory style, like a group home concept. ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units. Subdividing the lot, expanding the home, operating a business, out of the home, work from home, vacation use or rental. And then you got to think who manages some of that. Now, all these suggestions and new YIMBYism possibilities have zoning issues and neighborhood rules. But in some communities, they're really opening up. Then we've got the physical space of the home. Its quality is determined by inspections and warranties. Possible renovation, improvement, and expansion ideas. The ADU, you could also add an extra room, pop the top, subdivide the lot, build a duplex where one house existed by scraping the lot. You could have an elderly or disabled relative live on one level while you live on the other. And a really unusual idea, but a few families in America do this, they pool money to buy life insurance on their elders with appropriate permission, but it is a unique overlay strategy for debt reduction and wealth building. And again, this has to be the consensus, and many people have to share in this decision, but it can benefit the overall family, multi-generationally. We always have refinancing and home equity line of credit possibilities. If you live in a home or you're staying there, you've paid down a lot of the debt and you can borrow from it for the future for small business and real estate opportunities. I've done both and it works great. And don't forget 3 unique aspects of rental properties as investments. Number 1, concentration risk. It's your location, it's fixed, but the neighborhood area where you might have a rental may be the same one where you live or have other rental properties. Number 2, illiquidity. There's friction in time and cost to sell a home. And of course, 3, the one everybody remembers, the potential headaches. Tenants, replacing items, systems, and repairs. Now here are those bonus questions I promised. Can you sell it? Can you rent it out from afar? What is your length of stay in the area for job, military, dealing with kids, parents, even a possible retirement target area? What are the local and state tax rules? Is the land worth more than the house for a scrape-off or a duplex? Is the land and the soil, the terrain healthy, clean, and safe? Now just remember, conditions could change or be about to change. Delay is not denial. Delay is delay. And yes, real estate involves action, forethought, but also patience and time. And depending on your perspective of these 5 pro tips, time and your ability to maintain ownership through housing downturns could be your answer to wealth building. So be sure to hit that subscribe and that like button. And remember, new episodes of What's Next with Money are posted on Thursdays.